Welcome to the Rainy Day Rabbit Holes podcast, your escape from the mundane.
Dive into the rich history of the Pacific Northwest with us and let your mind wander down the rabbit hole.
Because in the Northwest, it's always raining something weird. I am Shea.
And I'm Jody. Let's fall down the rabbit hole.
Welcome to Rainy Day Rabbit Holes. You might be joining us for the first time on episode number 1, or you might be a longtime listener who is celebrating our 1-year anniversary with us. Either way, we are thrilled to have you here.
Maybe you are just starting out your rabbit hole journey with us, or maybe you've been listening to our dulcet tones for a while and probably trying to figure out which one of us is which.
Like our husbands.
But we thought today on our 1-year anniversary as a podcast that we would re-record our first episode and take a moment to let you know a little bit about us, a little bit about this podcast, and talk about our journey over the past year, or what you could look forward to if you're joining us for the very first time.
It's hard to believe it's already been a year since we launched the very first episode of the Rainy Day Rabbit Holes podcast. What started as a passion project between two friends with a love for history, mystery, and the stories that shape our world has grown into something truly special.
For those who might be new here, Rainy Day Rabbit Holes is a podcast where we, Shea and Jody, dive deep into fascinating Pacific Northwest topics that might have been forgotten or overlooked by history. From historical conspiracies to strange tales, our goal is to bring you stories that leave you wanting to know more. Each episode is a journey down a rabbit hole, and we're thrilled that so many of you have joined us for this ride.
You might be wondering, what is the Pacific Northwest? Well, it's the upper left-hand corner of North America and encompasses Alaska, British Columbia, Canada, Washington, Oregon, Idaho, parts of Montana, and parts of Northern California.
And who are the hosts? I mean, besides hot middle-aged ladies who are smart and hilarious.
I mean, at least we think so, right?
I think we have a few people.
At least 3 people.
My husband agrees.
I don't know if my husband does, but we'll just forget about that. Well, I'm Shea, a married and childless cat lady who appraises real estate in the real world, and I like to paddleboard, hike, and camp in my little trailer. I have a few hobby jobs. I'm a group exercise instructor teaching everything from bar and Pilates to indoor cycling. I'm a sometimes tour guide for the amazing Washington tour company, Pretty Gritty Tours. And I am the producer and editor of this here podcast. I'm an Arizona native, but I have called the Pacific Northwest home since 1989, with a brief hiatus in California in my 20s.
And I'm Jody, and I hate this question because, I could go on and on for like hours and hours to tell you about myself, but I'll give you a quick synopsis. So I'm a wife of 34 years, a mom of 4 daughters, and now 4 sons-in-law. And my favorite title of all, Grandma. I have 6 grandkids currently, with 1 on the way. I'm a nurse by trade, and that has taken me on a journey of leadership and coaching that I really love to do. That's actually my passion for my career. My fun time, I love to be on an adventure, hiking, camping, paddleboarding, kayaking. I'm a Pacific Northwest native. I was born in Montana and moved to Seattle area as a 2-year-old, and I've been here pretty much ever since. The only time I've lived out of the state as an adult was 2.5 years in Hawaii on the island of Oahu when Keith was in the military. So lifelong Pacific Northwesterner here.
And she's the hottest grandma you'll ever see.
I try.
Before there was a podcast, there was a road trip. In August of 2023, we hit the road in search of adventure and inspiration, and that's exactly what we found. Our first stop, the charming and historic town of Astoria, Oregon.
I loved Astoria. Astoria is a town with a rich history, known for being the oldest American settlement west of the Rockies. It's also home to some remarkable women, including the first female mayor in Oregon, Clara Cynthia Munson, who broke barriers and made history with her election in 1913. But Astoria isn't just known for its history. It's also famous for being a filming location of a cult classic movie, The Goonies. We couldn't resist visiting the iconic Goonies house. And yes, it was just as magical in person as it is on screen. It's actually exactly as it is on screen.
Yes.
Including the view of the water.
Yes. I mean, it's just a house in all reality.
Exactly.
So it's magical but boring.
Right. It would probably not be magical except for it was in
exactly
in the Goonies, but it is exactly right off the screen. And as we explored the town, we couldn't help but feel a presence of the past all around us. And speaking of that, I have a ghost story for you after this quick break. Welcome back. If you want to listen to our shows ad-free, consider joining our Patreon, where you can get ad-free episodes a day early, plus a bonus episode, and so much more. Head to rainydayrabbitholes.com to learn more.
Also, if you are listening to this episode on Radio Tacoma, you can find all of our episodes at our website, rainydayrabbitholes.com.
Shea.
Yes.
Have you ever suddenly smelled perfume in a room without anybody new entering?
No, I mean, sometimes I smell something that smells like a fart, but that might just actually be me, and it was just a sneaky one I didn't notice.
No, could be a entity.
Do you think I have a farting ghost in my house?
Yeah, that's what you should start blaming it on.
Absolutely.
You have a poltergeist.
I have a fartergeist.
We've got a solution to your problem.
Wait. I got it. A pootergeist. Because he's pootin' in my house. A pootergeist.
Tootin'. It's a tootin'-geist.
Tootin'-geist. I'm so funny. Especially with this champagne.
Oh, God, it's like 3 sips in. It's going to get wild in here.
Oh, I'm most of the way through my first Mad Dog mimosa.
Oh, yeah. We're tattling on ourselves here.
Okay.
We've gotten real low.
On with the ghost story. This is a pretty trailer trash mimosa.
Have you ever been tapped on the shoulder only to turn around and see nobody in the room with you and not some stupid boy in your class who like to do that to you and then dodge you looking?
No, my husband does that to me, though, where he'll tap me on my right shoulder, but then he'll swoop around and be around to my left.
Oh.
So my husband's a pootergeist.
He's a pootergeist. And that's where the smell comes from.
There you go.
If he wouldn't tap you, nothing would leak out an odor of up
you
the room.
Scare me, I might squeak a little, but not out of my mouth.
Okay. Have you ever heard music playing somewhere in the house, but unable to find where it's coming from?
Yes, but right now it is probably my neighbors that are really into trains.
I have a novice drummer next door. I mean, I literally live in the woods, can't see my neighbor, but I can hear that crap. Have you ever encountered a cold spot in a room?
Not at my house, but I did have that experience at the Stanley Hotel in Colorado.
Ooh.
Bonus episode that you get on the Patreon.
Upcoming bonus. Hear about that. All right. Today we are going to take you back to the beginning of time, to our scenic drive. And as this is podcast time, by the way, to our scenic drive.
It's like beginning of time.
Rainy Day Rabbit Holes time.
Okay.
As we explore some of the town's most iconic and haunted landmarks, the Flavel House. So grab your umbrella and ghost hunting gear because we are driving into history at the Grand Mansion with more than a few skeletons in its closets.
Wait, Flavel, isn't that a Middle Eastern food?
Right. I was
now I'm hungry.
I know. Yes. I looked it up, and the fair's going on today, so that's what
there's Flavels at the fair.
Fair food, like that cartoon where things are going through somebody's head. You can just see them spinning. It's like
like spinning around their head.
It's like elephant ears, scones, corn dogs, and turkey legs on a carousel in my brain. You know what the problem with the fair is? You can't eat all that, or some people can.
Well, also the problem with the fair is that all of those things are now $15 a piece.
Right. So you literally have to choose, and I want to. All right, back to the story.
We digress. Again.
So we interrupted the part where I said that we are diving into the history of this grand mansion with more than a few skeletons in its closets, literally and figuratively.
Ooh.
Spoiler alerts. There are no real skeletons, but
Oh, man.
I thought it was a good line. First things first, let's set the scene. Picture this. It's the late 1800s, Astoria, Oregon. Bustling port town where the Columbia River meets the Pacific Ocean. And in those days, ships are coming in from all over the world, and Astoria is a melting pot of cultures, sea salt and adventure. Ooh. That's me making tourism brochures, if that was a thing back then.
Sea salt and adventure.
Right? That could be their slogan.
That's a candle we could make, sea salt and adventure.
Yes. Or is it a wine and chocolate? Yeah, we could, yes, sea salt and adventure. We could come up with so many things.
I know.
Enter Captain George Flavel, a sea captain, entrepreneur, and all-around big deal in Astoria. Captain Flavel wasn't your average seafaring man. No. He was what we might call today a shipping magnate.
Oh.
Or magnet?
I think it's magnet. I know. I always am like, am I saying
It's got
this
the
right?
E on the end, so I say magnate.
I know. But also there's the Marine Corps, which you're supposed to say core, but there's a P and an S in it.
Yeah.
Lame. English sucks.
English does, especially American English. I don't know. It's very made up.
I bet they say corpse in the UK.
We got to find out. I'm going to call my ancestors.
They say herb over there because there's a flipping H in it instead of herb.
From now on, I will do that. I'm going to be proper English from now on.
Let's do it.
We're going to annoy the crap out of it.
I was about to say, let's be extra annoying.
Okay, so back to the story. Or what the kids of TikTok might call now the maritime influencer. That's Captain George Flavel.
That's good. Nice one.
He built his empire by piloting ships through the treacherous waters of the Columbia River. And for those that don't know, where salt water and fresh water meet, it's very treacherous. So this was a special skill. And still is, guiding them safely to port and raking in a nice sum for his troubles. In 1885, with his pockets lined with more money than anyone else in town, he decided to build a home that screamed, "I'm kind of a big deal." And thus the Flavel House was born or built. The mansion is a grand Queen Anne-style home, complete with all the Victorian bells and whistles, turrets. Well, I think the ghosts actually have Tourette's syndrome.
That was so awesome.
I wish. Okay, so we should be recording, like video recording, because I'm pretty sure after I said it,
You just like,
I just stared blankly at it forever. Like, why does Tourette's
that doesn't
in
seem
here?
right. Does it say Tourette's instead
No.
of turrets? Oh.
No, it says turrets.
It's all right. Last night when I was helping to lead tours of the Stadium High School, I did call the turrets.
Oh, gosh. Okay.
It is actually perfect. That's amazing.
That's why we're besties. Okay, from now on, they're Tourette's. That is proper English.
That castle has beautiful turrets.
I'm, if you check my DNA, very British. So what I call this Tourette's has had the proper English way
I'm
to
doing
say.
it from now on when I give tours of Stadium. Let's go check out the turrets.
Complete with all the Victorian bells and whistles.
You're going to say it again.
Right. How do you say it?
Turrets.
A widow's walk, a lavish veranda, and so much decorative trim. It's like Christmas all year. It was the epitome of 19th century opulence, and it remains one of the best preserved examples of Queen Anne architecture on the West Coast. Basically, if it were any more Victorian, it would demand that you call it "milady" and never make direct eye contact.
Oh my God, that's amazing. So good.
All right. But who was Captain George Flavel, really? Sure, he was wealthy, but there's more to his story than just dollar signs and good facial hair grooming. He was very bearded. He was your classic, wharf guy with the beard and the hat. And
He probably carried
gray.
around a little tin of wax for his mustache.
Yes. Oh, gosh.
Or, excuse me, his mustache.
Was it wax or was it lard? No.
Would have been a wax because lard would just melt in the heat.
Yeah. Maybe not there. Work as a wax because it's cold. Flavel was known for his keen business sense and his, let's say, colorful personality. He was a big fish in a small pond of Astoria and didn't mind throwing his weight around. When I read about him, I picture this guy who would have been totally nothing anywhere else, but like you're in this small town, so you're super cool. And you're owning it.
He's a BFD in this
Right.
town.
He thinks he's like the BFD of the country, but it's really Astoria, Oregon, which is a pretty important place. But
Well, I mean, if you've been to Astoria, it is a teeny tiny town.
very teeny tiny. And so it is interesting because it's so impactful. Like there's so much that goes on there and it's so historical and it continues to be this, but it is teeny tiny.
Yeah. Yeah. So it doesn't take, I don't think it takes much to be a BFD in that town.
Especially back then. I mean, from the beginning, he had a pretty good skill that was necessary. So now
There's
he's the
probably
BFD.
like 1,000 people tops.
Yeah. When he wasn't piloting ships, he was wheeling and dealing in real estate, lending money and expanding his influence. Kind of like Astoria's original Monopoly man, but with more sea shanties. So they had all these shanties across on the waterfront down there. Sounds fancy, but they were not.
No.
Captain Flavel was also a family man, at least in the 19th century sense of the word. It meant that he built a big house and expected everyone to live in it and adhere to his strict Victorian codes and rules. His wife, Mary Christina Flavel, and her children had the privilege of residing in this opulent mansion and were likely subjected to hours of polite tea drinking, piano playing, and repressing their emotions.
No smoking, no drinking, and no having fun.
No having fun. Your panties were in a bunch and you were clutching your pearls.
They were just right up your behind.
And that was the style of the time. So
your panties right up your behind.
They had to.
Well, that's
what a proper woman did.
They were big old bloomers, but they were just right up your behind.
Well, yes. Otherwise, you got a little frisky if you get out of control if you didn't have your panties in a bunch.
They needed some cornflakes.
Yes. The Flavels enjoyed a high status in life in Astoria until Captain Flavel's death at 1893. At that point, the house became less of a family home and more of a giant spooky monument to Astoria's glory days, a place that would soon have gain a reputation for the strange. I don't know if you remember when we were driving through the streets of Astoria that we actually drove by this mansion.
Oh, I've been to the Flavel house.
Oh, have you? Okay.
Yeah, perfect. I did one of the, because it's like $5 to tour it.
Yeah, and it looks really cool.
It's really beautiful inside. Yeah, I love Victorian homes. They're just all the woodwork and like unnecessary... like fenestration. I'm really into fenestration.
Give us the definition.
In the architecture world, fenestration is like the fancy woodwork. Like, so on the outside of the house, all that gingerbread on Victorian homes, that's called fenestration.
Oh, got it. The extra decor.
The like over the top, unnecessary fenestration.
So does it have to be over the top to hit fenestration?
No, it just has to be like, it helps define the quality of a home. So if it has a high level of fenestration, that's a sign of a better quality home.
But the plot thickens. After George Flavel's death, the house passed through several generations of the Flavels, and things got a bit, well, let's say, quirky. It turns out that having a giant mansion in a small town might make your family the talk of the town, but not in a good way, always.
Oh.
Fast forward to the mid-20th century. The remaining Flavels were a bit of an odd bunch, to put it mildly. So let's just say they weren't the kind of folks that you'd invite to your book club or your puzzle club. That's a thing now.
Unless sit around and do puzzles together?
Yes.
Do you work on the same puzzle?
Yeah, work on the same puzzle.
Wow, that sounds
And then they like get up and rotate seats, and all this stuff. Yeah.
Okay.
It's a new thing. You want to join me? I'll start one.
I mean,
we are middle-aged.
Very relaxing.
Old ladies.
I don't have time for that stuff.
I started a puzzle the other day. It was pretty hard. And then my sister's dog came over and ate some pieces. And that was my excuse to say, oh, now I can't finish it. Let's just say they weren't the kind of folks that you'd invite to your book club unless the book club was reading How to Make Everyone Uncomfortable at Your Family Reunion. The last of the Flavels to live in the house was Mary Louise Flavel, who earned a reputation around Astoria as being eccentric. I guess anytime you live in a mansion in a town where people are barely making it, it feels like you'd be eccentric.
Oh, I want to be eccentric.
Right? By the time she moved out in the 1950s, the house was already gaining a reputation of something of a haunted hotspot. So, it's over 100 years old, or I'm sorry, coming up on about 100 years old. A lot of things have happened in that town and to this family. So it's gaining a reputation. Converted to a museum in 1951 and later restored in 2015, this house is very well known for its hauntings. The Flavel house has creaky floors, eerie hallways, and countless nooks and crannies like a Victorian Gothic novel come to life. Over the years, there have been numerous reports of paranormal activity in the mansion. Visitors and staff have reported seeing shadowy figures, hearing unexplained footsteps, and feeling sudden drops in temperature. One particular spine-chilling tale involves the ghost of Captain Flavel himself, who some say has been seen pacing the Widow's Walk, keeping an eye on his beloved river. So that window oversees the Columbia River as it enters into the ocean. So he watches that because that's his work, right? Others have claimed to hear sounds of a piano playing in the empty drawing room. Could it be Mary Christina Flavel tinkling the ivories from behind the grave? Or perhaps it's just a really dedicated piano tuner who got lost in time. Because Flavel's wife early on was really into her piano playing.
Okay.
So that was really well taken care of. So maybe a piano tuner who loved being in this grand mansion for the day as he's working. He decided to stay there as a ghost forever. Either way, it makes for a great story and keeps the ghost tour groups coming back year after year. Some say the hauntings are due to the restless spirits of the Flavel family, while others believe it could be linked to the house's proximity to the Columbia River, a body of water known for its treacherous currents and numerous shipwrecks. If you happen to have heard our story a year ago, as we talked about Astoria and Clara Munson, we talked about like her dad had actually been in a shipwreck out there and involved in saving people and was haunted by it. So it's not uncommon for these tragedies to occur right there where, again, it's treacherous sea right there. So lots of numerous shipwrecks could have led to the hauntings, people staying in that town.
Yeah, it's a dangerous body of water because there's like a sandbar that runs through it. And if you don't know where it is, you can just run aground there. And
then you've got the brackish. It's dangerous. And that's why he became so successful, though, because he was good at maneuvering it, was able to get the equipment to be able to help people. And so he was highly useful. So this is how he makes his money.
Became a BFD.
Maybe some of those lost souls decided that the Flavel house was a good place as any to haunt. And who could blame them? It has great curb appeal. I'm going to read you some stories. So the Flavel house is now, like I said, a museum. There's tours that you can join. And I just want to read a couple of testimonies from the tour. I went to the Flavel house over the weekend. It was my first time in Astoria. It was a gorgeous house. We watched a movie before taking the tour, so they watched a movie about it, I'm assuming. I was making some jokes about Mrs. Flavel and how young she was when she married. She was 14.
Oh.
And he was like
30-something. Like you do.
Yep, like you do back then, right? And how particular she was about keeping her home. She was, like the piano. She was also very particular about everything the home had to be in a perfect spot, had to be the nicest. Don't touch it, dust it, keep it nice. We did a self-tour through the house, and in the kitchen, I was recording a video of my boyfriend at the old Victorian stove, and I noticed something on my camera screen. It was like a blurry spot on the film that wasn't there when I looked at it at him, not through the phone. So when looking in real life, it wasn't there. I thought it might be something on my camera lens, so I wiped it, and it was still there. I thought that was weird, and then a few minutes later, I bent down, and my necklace broke and fell off onto the floor. I have never had any issues with this necklace before, but it broke as if someone had pulled it and the pendant and threw it on the ground. It was a very bizarre experience, and I apologize to Mrs. Flavel for the trash talking in her home. Mrs. Flavel got mad, ripped her necklace off, and threw it on the ground.
Screw you, lady.
Lots of testimony on the website about actual feelings or hearing things, feeling the coldness, smelling the perfume or flowers. I'm wondering if she didn't wear floral perfume because it goes back and forth between describing it as suddenly the room smells like flowers, which she liked to keep them, fresh flowers in her house all the time. And then also some people refer to it as perfume. So I'm guessing floral perfume if it's that. Anyway, that's the Flavel house.
It's very cool. If you go visit Astoria, Oregon, which is amazing. I love it there.
It is definitely
so historic.
Especially, if you're in Oregon, you're on the coast doing the 101, definitely stop by it is just, I don't know, there's a great feeling about Astoria, Oregon.
If you're planning a road trip from Portland and you're going to go down the coast, you got to go through Astoria. That's the best way to start out your trip is from Portland to Astoria, and then you can head down the coast.
Speaking of Portland to Astoria, another rabbit hole I kind of started on but decided to not because it's big is the Shanghai tunnels in Astoria all the way to Portland. Like they were Shanghai-ing people back and forth. So
well, we just need to go to Portland and go to the Shanghai tours.
That
would be really fun, especially now that I'm a tour guide. I can be like,
those are haunted too.
I'm a tour guide.
Very haunted.
Yes, that's what I hear too.
Back to our tale.
Before we get into the rest of our road trip, let's take a little break. Welcome back. And remember, if you want ad-free episodes plus bonus episodes and other perks like a firmer hiney, You can join our Patreon. Just head on over to rainydayrabbitholes.com to sign up.
I mean, Shea, this has given me stronger abs for sure.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
From laughing so hard with you.
You know, my feet also don't hurt as much.
Oh, really?
It's amazing. All the benefits.
Your feet don't hurt. Is that?
I mean, it is a cure-all.
It is a cure-all. What ails you? Send it in.
Yep. And you will be better.
We'll just tell you to join the Patreon and you'll be fine.
The FDA has not evaluated these claims. It is not meant to cure or treat any disease.
It's a supplement. It is fine.
Exactly.
Not regulated.
Exactly. We can put arsenic in our Patreon.
It's fine.
Our next stop on the trip was the stunning Heceta Head Lighthouse. Perched high above the rugged Oregon coastline, this lighthouse has been guiding ships since 1894. Heceta Head was named for Bruno de Heceta, a Spanish navigator and explorer. The lighthouse guards a towering cliff overlooking the majestic Pacific Ocean. It was automated in 1963, and the lighthouse keeper's home became a bed and breakfast in 1995, after serving as both a military barracks during World War II and as a satellite campus for Lane Community College. This beautiful Queen Anne-style cottage has 6 rooms appointed with antique furnishings, a covered front porch where guests can enjoy wine and appetizers every afternoon. Its beauty is undeniable, but it's also known for something else. Its ghostly inhabitants.
Dun, dun, dun.
People have been reporting paranormal activity in the cottage since the 1950s. Guests and workers have reported seeing a woman with silver hair and a long, dark dress walking through the halls. They might hear disembodied screams, see items moving, or items disappearing and then reappearing on their own. I feel like that's probably just more like you forgot that you moved a thing and then you found it.
Oh, that's what's happening. My whole house is haunted as I lose things, and I get overtaken by spirits, and that's why every time I leave the room, I can't remember why I left the room.
Exactly.
That's what's happening.
Actually, no, that is alien abduction.
Oh, and then I'm just plopped down, and I'm like, damn.
The reason that
I've
you
lost time.
cannot remember why you went into a room is because you are just returning from being abducted by aliens. I did hear that on some alien abductee thing.
I've been on every planet, apparently.
I'm abducted all the time.
I am well researched over here.
You've been well probed.
I must be like the model specimen.
Right.
I'm a good reflection for everyone, so it just happens to me. You're welcome.
So guests also might hear furniture being moved at night in the locked attic. The wispy figure of a young girl has also been seen floating in the hall. People walking by the home have reported the silhouette of an old woman in the attic window. One night in the 1970s or 80s, a group of LCC students huddled around a Ouija board, asking questions about the spirit world, and the board spelled R-U-E, Rue. It is believed that Rue is either the name of the wife of a former lighthouse keeper or the name of her daughter. The legend is that the daughter drowned and the heartbroken parents left Heceta Head, but that the mother returned to the cottage after her own death to look for her daughter. The actual history of who lived here and what happened to the daughter cannot be confirmed, as records of the family members of the lighthouse keepers were not kept at the time. There is one unmarked gravestone up on the hill that people think might have been the grave of the little girl. The most frightening encounter with Rue was reported in 1975. A workman was up in the attic cleaning one of the windows when he noticed a strange reflection in the glass. He spun around to see what was behind him and saw the apparition of an older woman in a Victorian-style gown. Terrified, he beat feet out of the house and refused to ever go back into the attic. Later, he was completing a repair on the exterior of the attic window and accidentally broke the glass. Because he refused to go into the attic, he repaired the glass from the outside. Later that night, workers in the house heard scraping noises up in the attic. When they checked it out the next morning, the broken glass from the attic window had been swept into a neat pile, even though no one had gone up there, and the attic was locked.
I'm just picturing the ghost going, "You've messed up my house again." I will fix it.
And that's really all I could find about the ghost of Heceta Head.
Yeah, I think
It's
I
a very
remember when
short
we
story.
on our travels down there reading about this. It's just tragic, sad about the family and the little girl.
Well, but the thing is it just can't be confirmed either. So it's really all legend and speculation.
So I feel bad and for nothing.
Possibly.
Sad.
Yeah. There wasn't a whole lot that was not just on the blogs of ghost hunters. I couldn't find anything that was actual.
Like legitimate reporting. Yeah.
Because at the time, they just kept records of the lighthouse keepers. They did not record who his family was or what happened to them. And it was so remote at the time that if somebody died there, it's not like it would be reported in the papers anywhere.
Nowhere.
So you can't find anything on newspapers.com or anything like that.
I'm sure there's people born and dead that never even were documented.
Oh, yeah. It's not like if you live in the middle of nowhere, you're going to be like, well, I'm going to take this 3-day trip into Portland to go register at the courthouse.
Make sure the government knows I'm here. Yeah, that's what we do.
Jody, it's crazy that trip was over a year ago.
I can't believe it.
I know. And our very first episode was recorded on that trip at the Itty Bitty Inn.
I know. I can remember it. I can remember it like it was yesterday. We had so much fun. First of all, we were on a high from our trip. And then we were at this great inn.
And we just randomly decided to go there. Because we were like, we need to find... We threw caution to the wind, which was a big step for me of... We're going to drive from Seattle to San Francisco over the course of 3 or 4 days, and we are not going to make a single hotel reservation, which for me was a big like, okay, take a deep breath. It's going to be okay. You're not going to have to sleep in the car on the side of the road. It'll be fine. And it was for the most part.
It was. And in fact, I think our dumpster fire would have been even worse had we made those reservations, right? Because we wouldn't have made it to our spot.
Exactly. It was getting late and we were like, we need to find a place to sleep. And I was driving because I was insisting on driving because it was Jody's sister-in-law's fun little Audi Quattro wagon. And I was having a blast.
We kept saying Quattro.
The stainless steel siren.
Yes, that's right.
And so Jody looks up this and she's like, well, there's this little roadside inn that looks really cute called the Itty Bitty Inn. And she's like, it's got themed rooms. So I was like, well, let's just stop there and see and talk to him. And the innkeeper comes out, Rick.
Mama Chicken.
Nicest guy, offers us a beer, lets us look at the room.
He carried our bags in.
But first, what did he do first?
Offered us
beer.
Yeah. Said, here, have a seat. Wouldn't even take our, we didn't pay for the room first.
No, he gave us beers and sat us on the little patio.
Brought our bags into our room, then discussed payment.
Yeah.
We knew that we knew the dollar amount. He didn't sucker us into $1,000. But we had agreed on the price, but then he didn't care about us paying our bill, just cared about us getting comfortable, making ourselves at home, and we'll deal with the details later.
And he's all, so if you need anything, just ring the doorbell and hold on, I got to go grind your coffee.
Right.
To bring over for tomorrow morning.
Such a great host. He actually is just like, you meet him and 5 minutes later you're like, oh yeah, I've known you my whole life.
Exactly.
And we're good friends and I'm comfortable.
Yeah, it was a really fun stay. And then we went back about 4 months later.
Yeah, with our husbands.
Yeah, went back with our husbands. Yeah, we had a great time. Definitely, if you're heading down the Oregon coast, stay at the Itty Bitty Inn. If it's summertime, make sure you make your reservations early because it's only got 5 rooms.
And if you want the Enterprise room, start making your reservations now. That one gets booked up and reserved.
Yes, it's amazing. It's the most popular room. But all the rooms are themed. They're all cute. The whole motel is painted with custom murals. Mm-hmm. And everything is very clean and very well kept. It's so cute. There's even charging stations for electric vehicles.
Right. It's such a, is that a paradox? You've got this little old motor inn. I mean, it is clean, updated in the sense it's well taken care of. I mean, but it is a 1950s motor inn with some new decor and charging stations for your electric car outside.
Yep. Well, he is also, wasn't it Captain Electron?
Something like that,
Rick, yeah, the innkeeper Rick has an alter ego, which is somebody who is a superhero for alternative energy sources.
Yeah, we had Rick on an episode early on in podcasting. So if you want to go back and search in time, he's guested with us before. So and he can talk a little bit about his Captain Electron, I think it is. He's one of those guys that goes, okay, I want to do that. And then he does it. And he goes, now I want to do that. And then he does it. And then he's like, I want to do that. And I'm like, I want to be that person.
Ridiculously
I have 100 million things I want to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Super smart in many areas. And then just a fun guy.
Yeah. Super sweet.
Mama chicken is what
Mama
he said.
chicken. Well, the last year has been incredible for this podcast. We have explored so many fascinating rabbit holes and have had so many wonderful guests.
We have interviewed some noted historians like...
Historians?
We've interviewed some of the most amazing historians like...
I'm calling Michael Sullivan.
I'm so funny today when I'm doing nothing. Like I'm not doing anything and I'm so funny. I'm gonna get the next complaint. I'm laughing at yourself.
Laughing at nothing.
It's laughing at your own jokes. Only these aren't even jokes. I'm just me. I'm a joke. Okay, back to the end. We have interviewed noted historians like Michael Sullivan, hung out with authors like Brad Holden, and have been told amazing stories by incredible people like Chris Staudinger of Pretty Gritty Tours. I said that right.
I don't remember.
Staudinger. I feel like it's right.
Or
Chris,
was it Staudinger?
Chris. Okay.
Sorry, Chris. We need you to come back on. Staudinger?
This is
I think it was Staudinger.
This is classic stalker technique. I can't say your name right. Can you please come on? Can we get more attention for Chris? So go back and listen to all of our episodes and you'll know why this is an inside joke. Be in on our inside joke about how we stalk Chris from Pretty Gritty Tours.
He must have lifted the restraining order because I work for him now.
Right. And now he's just like, what he's doing is he's containing you and keeping...
Exactly. He's like, I got to keep an eye on you. I need to know where you are at all times so that I know that you're not outside of my house.
So start at the beginning and roll your way up to current because you will hear us talk about how we stalk Chris from Pretty Gritty Tours.
It's just we mention him in every single episode of the podcast for the last 20 episodes.
That Shea now works for.
I stalked him into a job.
Which she's fabulous at, by the way. Please watch her. Come do one of her tours.
It's truth.
It's true. I went there to make fun of her. The whole goal was to be on her first tour and ask her really hard questions and silly stuff and, basically make a fool of Shea because I'm a good friend. And I couldn't. She was just doing so great. I just was like jaw on the floor watching like, this is amazing. I was all in.
It's what I was meant to do.
She derailed my assholeness.
Beep. You can't just say beep after the word.
No, that's for you. It's a placeholder.
God. I have to just cut all that. It's too hard.
You bad trained me.
Some of our most memorable episodes include our episode about the Oregon land frauds with special guest Allison Gill of the Daily Beans podcast, our deep dive into the creepy worlds of serial killer Linda Hazzard and the mortuary magnet E.R. Butterworth, and our explorations into the origin of UFO phenomenon with the Men in Black sightings and the coining of the term flying saucers.
Oh, that was fun to listen to. That just took me on our amazing first year. And looking into the future, I'm so excited to continue exploring these stories that captivate us, and they captivate us. That list that you just gave was it's broad, right? They're not all down the same avenue, the same rabbit hole. We've been doing some exciting things. So expect more deep dives into mysterious events, forgotten histories, and strange phenomena of the Pacific Northwest. Plus, we're planning some exciting collaborations with other podcasts and creators. That's another absolutely unexpected bonus portion of doing this gig, is all the wonderful people that we've met, other podcasters especially. And of course, we'll continue to bring you the same storytelling and humor that you've come to love. And we will continue to laugh at our own jokes.
Yes, always. Can't stop us. As we celebrate 1 year of Rainy Day Rabbit Holes, we're filled with gratitude for all of you who have listened, supported, and shared our podcast. This journey has been incredible, and we can't wait to see where the next year takes us. Here's to many more rabbit holes, road trips, and spooky stories. Cheers.
Let's clink. Let's clink.
Oh my God. Hold on. Oh, reach. Oh, clinky.
Did you hear the clink?
Yes. If you are new to the show, please subscribe so you never miss an episode. And stick with us through this journey. As all new podcasts, we started off a little rough, but got better every episode. And if you like what you hear, maybe give us a 5-star review. It makes us feel all warm and fuzzy inside.
And if you want to hear what the very first episode originally sounded like, because we're taking it down, plus more details about Rainy Day Rabbit Holes road trip, join our Patreon. That's where you'll get to hear that original episode again. I mean, we're putting this in the vault.
Yep.
You got to pay to play. You'll get bonus episodes as well as ad-free episodes and more. Just visit our website at rainydayrabbitholes.com. Thanks again, and
See you down the rabbit hole.